in Orange Walk, awesome. Vanessa's in Houston, Bradley is in Sugarland. We have Jada, who also is in Houston. Hello, awesome. I'm glad to see that there's such a big Texas contingency here. Texas is obviously HAR's one of our sister organizations, but it's also quite easy to get from Belize to here. All right, I see some Palm Beach County, Florida. Awesome. Cool. And I don't know, Bree, if you're able to get that presentation up. I'm not able to see it on my end over here. Okay, perfect. Cool. And we'll just start up there at the beginning. Perfect. Thank you. Cool. Okay, we have a Minnesota. Oh, Karen. I know Karen. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Good. All right, guys. So we're going to just jump in here. What you need to know about Belize real estate ownership. Once again, thank you everybody so much for joining us today. We'll hop to the next slide. All right, so I'm going to introduce Carlo Habet. Carlo is our president of BNAR, Belize National Association of Real Estate here in Belize, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about our organization and what sort of service and we can give to you today, and then we'll jump in with all the great content. Carlo, you're up.
Thanks so much, Rachel. So basically, just to give a little bit of background, the BNR was founded in 2006 with an eye to properly represent and propel a burgeoning and robust real estate industry in Belize. The BNR is unique, actually, and focused in its aim to inform and advocate for the real estate professionals of Belize. So as an organization of the highest standard, and we collaborate with some of the largest real estate organizations in the world, we do take pride in educating and advocating for the Belizean real estate professionals that make homeowners and investors' dreams a reality in the jewel that is Belize. Our vision is pretty simple, but in Belize, the market can be tricky. We're here to ensure a certain standard of excellence. Consumers need professionals that know and care about their needs. And in a world full of broken promises, we're here to shine the light. So our goal is to see our industry flourish. And the only way that can happen is if we raise the level of our ethics, knowledge, and professionalism. So we envision a fair, transparent, and honest market for all buyers, sellers, lessors, lessees, brokers, agents, and developers. And with that, we have three main focuses, or foci, which is education, advocacy, and support. And this virtual trade mission is a great example of our advocacy and the support. And so I want to thank everyone for being here, first of all. I know it's uniquely focused to a foreign market, and I know a lot of you guys have logged in from all over the world, a lot from all over the US especially. So we have something great planned for you. We have a lot of interesting tidbits and some actual listings to present. So with that, I want to thank you once again for being here and turn it back over to our awesome host, Rachel.
Awesome. Thank you. We go to the next slide there, Bree. So as Carlo mentioned, my name is Rachel Jensen. I'm a board member for the BNAR. I have Luna Realty Belize here. I've been in Belize for over a decade at this point. I'm originally from New York, but have made Belize my home, specifically Ambergris Key. And I'm really happy to have you all here today and to teach you more about the market. With us today, we also have David Kafka. Why don't you give a brief info about you, and then we'll jump over to Lincoln and Horacio if he was able to make it.
Hey everyone, my name is David Kafka. I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina, but have made Belize home about 13 years ago. And I am a Belize citizen, and I live between Placencia and Ambergris Key. Currently, I'm at my house in Placencia, and I'm happy to be here. And thank you, Rachel.
Awesome. Thank you. Lincoln, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lincoln Ely. I have been in the real estate industry in Belize for 25 years. Currently, I'm with REMAX Belize Property Center and representing BPC in Northern Belize.
Awesome. And Horacio, were you able to join us? I know you had a couple of things going on today. All right, I don't think he was, but Horacio is an IRM member. He's also part of BNAR, and he has participated in a ton of NAR activities over the years. really has represented us at the events in all over the world. And so he's going to give a little bit more about his personal experience. I know he's also in film, so he was doing some recording on one of our sister islands here, Key Cocker. So he may not be able to join us today, but do look out for his future movie there. All right, next slide, please. All right, and then with us today, we also have Ed. Ed, you and I have known each other for a while too, and I'm glad that you are that you're working so closely with BNAR. Why don't you give us a little bit more about HAR, what you guys are doing, and then also the relationship with BNAR.
Hello, everybody. Man, I'm super excited to be here today. Man, I'm a huge fan of Belize. I started going down there probably 7 or 8 years ago after I earned my CIPS, which is Certified International Property Specialist. And I'll tell you, every visit down there, starting from my first visit, meeting realtors and developers down in Belize, it's really been unbelievable. It started, reaching out to Macarena, which was the only CIPS that I knew was in Belize. So that was really cool. She's been unbelievably helpful. Like Rachel said, I met Rachel several years ago too, with ECI, as I work with a lot of developers in Belize, including ECI, the Marriott on Ambergris, let's say it's Anna in Placencia. Real good friends with Boris Mansfield in Placencia and Wayne Robbins down there. And that's just really been a cool opportunity. They've been super helpful, when I bring clients down to Belize. With that being said, I'm here today to represent HAR, which is the Houston Association of Realtors, where I served as the global chair in 2019. I'm also super involved as I live in Dallas with the global committee in Metrotex in Dallas, and I'm the global ambassador at the Austin Board of Realtors in Austin, along with participating on the Global Alliances Committee at NAR. So HAR asked me to come and talk a little bit today about our relationship with BNAR. And I'll tell you, I met Carlo a couple years back, I think right as the pandemic was happening or started. And of course, we couldn't go to Belize. I think it's been 3 years since my last visit. And my last visit, I brought, I think we had 20 realtors on a trade mission down there to look at real estate. And we had an amazing time. And HAR is the elected Global Ambassador Association for Belize. So NAR assigns global committees around the US, assigns them countries to be the ambassador. So we've had a ton of fun and communication and inviting. Carlo's been a part of some of our webinars there at HAR, and we're trying to grow the relationship. We are here for all the members at BNAR to help you with the tools that we have, the knowledge that we have, and some of our best practices. I think the relationship is designed so that we share the best practices to make things best for our clients, because it's all about delivering the best opportunities to our clients. And we can't do that if we don't have trusted friends in each other's countries. So we're here for that. I also want to share, as I talk about our relationship, Texas Realtors, we have an upcoming event, and I will share these links during the meeting. We have our next conference, and that's going to be September 15th through September 18th. And we would like to invite everybody from your association to that. Also want to share NAR. Our next conference is in Orlando, November 11th through 13th. And I will tell you, there are hundreds of international realtors that attend our conference. And Horacio, I probably butchered the way you pronounce it, but he was just at our NAR in Washington, and I met him at another NAR event before that. So I would encourage you to look into those. And then we have the C5, which is another NAR event in New York, and that's coming up August 15th through 17th. So I'll share all those because they're great opportunities for international realtors to come and develop relationships and learn all kinds of cool stuff to take back. So thanks again for the opportunity, and I look forward to today's webinar.
Awesome, and thank you so much. And I know that here in Belize, we really do appreciate the relationship with HAR and NAR generally. As many of you probably heard from Carlo there, the organization, our association, is still fairly new, founded in 2006. And so Belize is a very young country. They got their independence in 1981. So we are still working through a lot of the processes and procedures with real estate. So we are really excited to share with you what's been established so far so that you can take that information over to clients. And I just saw a link in there mentioned, guys, if you're not talking, please do mute yourself. I know sometimes it's easy to get involved in side conversations and some other stuff during these, but we do kindly ask you to mute yourself. All right, so first we're going to go through why Belize and a few of the top locations where people are owning real estate today. We're going to go through how to successfully navigate through the buying process. We're going to talk about some common mistakes that people are currently making and ways that you and your clients can avoid them. And then we're going to have a live Q&A session as well at the end. So we are anticipating over the next 45 minutes. We are recording here, so if you're not able to stay on for the entire time, just feel free to reach out for the recording link afterwards. But we're going to get started. There's a lot of information. We're trying to give you the top highlights, so there's always more than nitty gritty we can dig deeper into, but we really just want to give you the 101 here. So do find pen, paper, however it is, you best take notes, and we'll just jump right into the next slide, please. All right. Oh, yeah, thank you. All right, so we did that poll, so we can move on. All right, so I'm going to give you just a few fun facts, and I just mentioned this, but Belize is a fairly young country, just gaining her independence in 1981, formerly known as British Honduras. So some people still refer to Belize as British Honduras, but it is an independent country at this point. And because it is so young, we are still fairly new in this real estate process. But I know that with help from our association and the lands department, we're really able to put processes and procedures in place, because we want this to be a place that people are able to buy real estate easily and without any worries. And we certainly have gotten to that point. Belize is also the second smallest country in Central America, but the population is only about 400,000 people. So think about the size of Massachusetts, that's about the size of our country here, but the smallest population within Central America. And then it is home to the second largest living reef, or the second largest living reef in the world. But it's a really great location for diving and snorkeling and fishing and doing all of that. And that really is one of the big reasons that people started coming to Belize, was for the diving and fishing and snorkeling and all of that right off the coast of the country here. So we'll jump to the next slide. Thank you. So we're seeing a ton of sales here. I know just all across the world, especially over these last couple of years, real estate has been booming. And I'm sure you all have been so incredibly busy with real estate in your own area. That maybe this is just a brand new concept for you, or maybe you've been looking at helping your clients find real estate overseas. But we can see in Belize, and I know I'm sure David and Lincoln and Carlo, you guys have all seen it going crazy here, and we're seeing people coming in from all over the world to own real estate here in Belize. But here are some big reasons why we're seeing people are coming and buying real estate. One is that English is the official language. So if you're coming from an English-speaking country, it really gives you the peace of mind of knowing you'll be able to go through the paperwork, be able to talk to the locals, talk to the attorneys, and understand what it is that you're purchasing. In addition to that, we do have beautiful tropical weather year-round. It's about 82, 85 degrees here on the Keys year-round. We do have some cooler months, December, but we do have that warmer weather. In addition, it's just a slower, more relaxed pace of life. And I think for a lot of people, especially those in the States, I mean, I lived there for a while, I get it. It's this go, go, go mentality all the time. And when you're able to just sit back and relax, it really just helps ease your mind. And having the palm trees, having the Caribbean waters right there certainly helps to do so. We can go to the next slide there, Bree. And so who is owning? This is important to understand. So we are seeing a lot of locals are purchasing real estate here in Belize. If you're born Belizean, you're able to get some land from the government as well, able to convert that lease to fully titled property. So it's been neat to see that happening. We also see a lot of foreign investors who are coming in. They've come to the country, they're like, wow, this is a really untouched Caribbean country, especially when you're comparing it to a Bermuda or Bahamas or Jamaica or a country like that. And you come down and you just see so much potential here. And so we're seeing those investors who are coming in, maybe they're buying land and holding it because holding it is fairly inexpensive, or maybe they're buying condos and they're catering to the real estate market or the vacation market. And then we also have the people who are coming in and just want to, like I mentioned, relax. They want to live here. They want to relocate here, perhaps become snowbirds here. So there is this big group of buyers. They're all looking for something, fairly similar, but different at the same time. But we have the locals looking for their land to build on, investors, and then also those looking to relocate or retire. So a couple of things I want to mention to you. This is important for you to understand as you're working with your clients, is you can receive freehold title to your property as a foreigner. Both locals and foreigners have the same rights. This is really important to understand because there are a lot of countries that they don't have this. Like you probably know in Mexico, if you're, I think, within 100 kilometers of the coast, you can have a bank lease. It's a 99-year bank lease, which gives you access to that property for that time. But here in Belize, you get physical title to the property. In addition to that, property taxes are low. So I mentioned people are buying land and holding. That seems to be one of the most popular strategies I've seen from people. They just want to pick up something here, hold on to it for a while, and then eventually build or perhaps resell down the line. And when I say property taxes are low, I can give you a personal example. I have a couple of acres on a river on the mainland, and my annual property taxes are 10 Belize dollars, which is $5 US. So really quite affordable. In addition to that, there's zero capital gains tax. So when your client is buying something today, selling it in 10 years, maybe they're making $100,000 on it, there's no capital gains tax here in Belize. And then there's also a stable government. So because it is also a former British colony, a Commonwealth country, a lot of times we understand that because that is an area that we're from. Unless you're from Louisiana, it's a little bit different then, but we understand common law. So prices continue to increase. Obviously, it's a small country, so land is limited, and you're all in real estate, so you understand the benefits of holding onto land or buying land and just having it as something for yourself or for generations to come. And because more and more people are starting to discover Belize, we do see that as people become more familiar with the country, prices increase. It used to be, a sleepy fishing country at one point. And over time, as more people started coming, I just saw today that Alaska Airlines is introducing more flights from Seattle. We're seeing that all the time, more direct flights coming into the country, more people discovering it, prices going to increase. So we can jump to the next slide. Yeah, perfect. So here's a quick look at the country. These are the top 5 places that we're seeing people are deciding to own in Belize. And we have our specialists from each of the region who's going to talk about them more specifically. But Corazal, there, I'm going to start from north and then go top of the page and then go down south to the bottom of the page there. Corazal, a very popular location for folks who want to be close to the Mexican border. Beautiful bay over there too. It's more of a quieter life, but incredible opportunities there. I'm located on Ambergris Key, and the Keys are where people tend to go if they're looking for more of an established, I would say, expat community. Cayo is a beautiful inland area, jungles, incredible terrain there, incredible wildlife. Hopkins as we're going down south, and then Placencia. And so why don't we jump into, go to the next slide there. Yep, perfect. And then we'll have our experts talk a little bit more about the location. So Lincoln, you are up for Corazal.
Yes, Rachel, hi.
Hello, perfect, we can hear you.
Yes, okay, would like to introduce our beautiful cultural community of Corazal. Most visitors when coming to Corazal ask the real question, why Corazal? Why Corazal? So for many years after the sugarcane economic boom of the early 1990s, Corazal really went into a hibernation and became a very quiet place for business. Investment was very down as a result of the closure of the Libertad sugar factory. So over the years, the trend has changed a bit, and it has become a sort of the last frontier, being next to the Chetumal, Mexico border, offering, well, easy access to your city fix, if you will. So Corazal is really enveloped in a cultural diversity and history. It is sort of becoming more and more popular due to its strong cultural heritage. Real estate prices are probably still the least expensive and probably the most affordable, as it has not reached the tourism trend levels compared to other tourist destinations in Belize. So Corozal, unbelievable, has the longest coastline of any district. With that, there is so much opportunity for tourism growth. Corozal offers direct connection by air and water taxi to San Pedro and Burgess Key. So with the Corozal Sartaneja Road project, which involves the paving of approximately, say, 25 to 27 miles of climate resilient road. And the second project, the Philip Golson Remate Bypass Road projects are converging in Corozal. So many avenues of different opportunities are expected to happen with this vast investment projects. Corozal offers culture, food, sea, rivers, dunes. Of course, tropical weather abounds with natural beauty, but most important, it offers a potential tie of our strong agribusiness and tourism, which are two industries that can coexist and complement each other, a powerful combination. So if you have not visited Corozal yet, please tell everyone not to tell everyone about Corozal.
Perfect. And I know there's an example too, Lincoln, of some of the real estate that you have there. If you just want to give a little bit more about that property specifically. And then if anyone has any questions, we're going to save the questions for the end, but then Lincoln can answer those, or you can just even put them in the chat and we can get those answered for you there. But yeah, Lincoln, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this property? Oh, Lincoln, can you hear me? I don't know if we lost you.
Sorry, I muted myself.
Not a problem. I figured
Let me
that's what
start
happened.
over again. Let me start over. Yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah, this property is a seafront or bayfront property. It is located in the Finca Solana area. It is approximately 0.34 acres or acre, listed for 150,000 US. The property has electricity and it also has access to city water.
Yeah, that's a great price.
It's a wonderful price. Make an offer.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Thank you there, Lincoln. We're going to jump down now a little bit south. So if you notice, we're going to start at the north and then work our way to the south. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Ambergris Key and Key Cocker. These islands are quite well known because if you can see there on the right-hand side, there's all these different shades of blue, and there's kind of a white line that goes down the middle of the blues there, and that is the reef. And so these islands really started as little fishing villages, and over the last 40, 50 years have started to become a lot more touristy. You do find that it is one of the primary locations for tourists to come. They'll spend a few days here and then go check out the rest of the country, but they come out for the diving and the fishing and the snorkeling and really just the exploration. Golf cart is our primary mode of transportation here, which is really unique, and it gives people the opportunity to check out the island by themselves or with a group or whoever they're coming with. And I think a lot of people like that. Well, what you tend to find, I think, in Belize generally is it's not really an all-inclusive sort of location. You can certainly find some all-inclusive hotels, but we really encourage our visitors to go and check out the country. It's a safe spot. And Ambergris Key certainly is the location where we tend to find a lot of the tourists and expats are making their way to. Key Cocker is our neighboring island, and I say it's what Ambergris Key was 20 years ago. It still has sandy streets, not as many golf carts, But you do tend to find on these two islands a lot of very colorful buildings, a very tropical feel, and just really, really friendly people. I think the friendly people, though, that's all across Belize, at least from my experience. It's a very, very genuinely nice culture. And so we can just jump to the next slide there. So, these are just some examples that we have of listings, but there's properties, that range. There's huge ranges of depending on what your clients are looking for, from land to condos to single family homes. But this is an example here of it's a branded property on Ambergris Key. And it is primarily one that I see more folks are looking for in the investment market, but turnkey, about $150,000. And it's a part of the Best Western Hotel brand. And so clients are able to own it as an investment. They can live in it if they choose, but I think really quite reasonable for being on the island over here and also being part of a branded hotel. So again, it's big in the tourism industry. So we see a lot of folks coming out here from the investor perspective too. All right, Carlo, you're up with the Belize District.
Thank you, Rachel. So Belize District might be one of the, I would say, at least to new buyers, foreign buyers specifically, might be one of the lesser, I would say, hot spots per se. But I think there's a lot of great things going on in the district in the sense that it's not just the city. So what's pictured here is Belize City, which is the commercial capital still. So kind of, it doesn't really matter where you live in Belize, you're eventually going to be coming into Belize City to get very important things done, such as meeting with lawyers for closings, doing major banking transactions, things of that nature, shipping, for instance. So it's still very much the commercial capital. But as you go more inland in Belize District, you actually can find a lot of great deals as well on, like, I would say small, like not like small, large tracts, I would say in like the 10 to 50 acre range, and they're usually priced, in like, let's say like the 2,000 to 3,000, sometimes up to 5,000 USD per acre, as you kind of get a little bit on the smaller end actually. So there's a lot of great options. As you go out too, it does get better for farming. The district does basically also kind of like fan out to the rest of the country. So in a sense, I would say that like Belize City is really like the key to the rest of the country. And from Belize City, you can easily navigate to everywhere else in the country. I may be partial because I live here, but I feel like it's very easy to get anywhere I want to go from Belize City by car usually. And let's say if you want to go a little bit, out, you could just, get the water taxi as well, which are very reasonable. And there's plenty of flights all over as well, which makes for, 10 to 15 minute flights between districts, or islands in Belize. So very convenient. Also, I think investors, if you're just about investing, the city is one of the, I would say, most predictable places that you could invest. Prices have just continually, gone up very predictably with inflation, and have been beating those numbers. So I feel that as a strictly commercial investment, it is something to look at, the Belize District. And I think that we might have a good example of something like this coming up. That's kind of like on a higher end of the market. So I think also in Belize District, what's nice about the district and the city itself, the standard of living is relatively high. So you have access to a lot of great quality, like high-end rentals and homes and that kind of stuff as well. So maybe we can go to the next slide that has one of the listings we're talking about. So this is like a beautiful 3-story, 5,000 square feet, has a rooftop. It's on the canal looking right out to the sea. You could dock your boat and basically be anywhere you want, in Belize. We have something like 200 plus keys all around. So we really are sort of like, the maritime guy's dream. And that's another reason too why people like Belize, the district, but also the city, is because if you really are, a boater, if you're a fisher, this is a great place to kind of like launch any of your expeditions. It's like equidistant from the top and the bottom of the country. So it's, there's a lot of marinas, things like that. That's still also a pretty decent niche to invest in, as well, as that shows no signs of abating. So, we were originally colonized or discovered, I should say, before proper colonization by pirates. So everyone here still loves the sea. And so that's, I think, another great aspect of being in Belize City and being in the Belize District, is that you're really close to the sea. It's easy to get out. So this is a super great option if you're like into, like the higher end bracket. The value is crazy. And like I said, it just keeps going up. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Rachel.
All right, perfect. And one thing I do want to note, everyone, is that typically when real estate transactions are being done with a foreigner, it's all in US dollars. And even in listings, you'll see those do tend to be in US dollars too. I know sometimes if I'm browsing the Facebook listings, I'll see that those are pricey Belize dollars, but just as a heads up, as you're looking at these here and trying to figure out if it's local currency or if it's US. All right, Carla, you're gonna come back up here and talk a little bit more about the Cayo district.
Thanks, Rachel. So I do have a few things to say about Cayo, but I was hoping, because I know we have Macarena in here with us too, that maybe Macarena would like to jump in and get some of her experience as well on the Cayo district, as I know that she's dealt specifically with a lot of foreigners moving to Belize and has a great experience there. Mac, would you want to take it over for me?
Sure. So the Cayo district, when I moved 18 years ago, was kind of like not a place that a lot of foreigners were looking to move to. It has changed quite predominantly because a lot of people will now move with, children, which again, 18 years ago, I moved with 2 children and 10 animals, and that wasn't heard of. But as you have all seen, us that are doing business, people are moving with their families now. And they're finding, especially now that they can work from anywhere in the world remotely, if they're looking to do anything agricultural, like, Lincoln had spoke about, of course, agro farming. Well, Cayo district is great for farming. So there's a lot of larger tracts of land that people buy, and they subdivide some of it for different family members. And then they have their land that they can eat off of the land, of course. And we have good schools that are available. So that's been a draw for people to move to. And a lot of people want to have space around them, right? But predominantly the reason that it has grown so much is our tourism, because we have so many ruins, we have the rainforest, we have the jungles, oh my, and lots of things to do. People find the Cayo district very simple to navigate and to get to, being an hour and a half from Belize City Airport. So predominantly I would find people looking for larger tracts of land like I had shared, and some are taking parcels or portion of the land and making it for tourism, meaning they're doing Airbnb, VRBO, which has really opened up our Belize market. Really, in the last 10 years, that's really changed everything. That's why you see Best Westerns, like Rachel has spoke about, coming in and doing things, because people want to have vacation rentals. Who doesn't want to have a nice place to live, but also to share with other people where you can earn income? And I would say the mean price or the average price of homes are around 150,000 US. And then land itself, larger tracts of land, of course, per acreage are less than most of the areas because we're not by the ocean.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Looking
really
for?
Appreciate that.
Of course, dear.
Insight. And well, I guess one of the listings that we had highlighted was this one actually in Frank's edit, which is sort of more to, I'd say, like the front of Cayo, closer to Belize. So this is close to actually Belize district as well. What I like about this specific listing, and I think that what appeal to the audience we have here today is that, and Mac, you could probably speak to that too, but I think a lot of times you kind of end up buying a large tract of land, and it tends to be kind of like out there. You might have to do your own road, or generally you're kind of alone, which sometimes some people love that, some people might not, for security reasons. This actually is a development of 50-acre tracts, and I think there's about like 28 or 29 of them. The road's all paved. It's all very super safe, and it's gated. So it's like a gated community for people who want large tracts of land. So I find that to be cool about this. And it's actually excellent agricultural land. It's by a very popular hotspot for cave tubing by Jagwapa area. And it's actually not very far as compared to, let's say, other properties in Cayo from Belize City, if you want to get in there very quickly, or Balapan to do business or shop, these kind of things. And very well priced. And actually, as Rachel mentioned, it's in US dollars.
And also, I do want to mention something. I know, Mark, that you said that it's not necessarily by the ocean. It's not a coastal community or coastal district per se, but there are a ton of rivers. And so you see some pictures there in Carlo's pictures, but it's just a really incredible spot too. So some people like the ocean, some people like the river, some prefer the mountains. So again, and you're all in real estate, you all get it, but it really just depends on what your client is looking for. And Cayo's a great spot for those people who like rivers and jungles and that sort of outdoor scape.
Yeah, definitely, Rachel. You hit it on the head.
Awesome. All right. We are going to have David join us now and talk more about Hopkins. And then after David, you can jump right in to Placencia as well. So you have the floor.
Oh, we can't hear you, David.
Thank you, Macarena. Again, my name's David. I am originally, like I mentioned, from Charleston. I have the Remax First Choice franchises, and we have offices in Placencia and Hopkins, and opening Corozal later this year. And Hopkins is kind of a laid back, sleepy area, kind of what I feel would be one of the next tourist destinations. But we do have quite a bit of expats living there already. We have the beaches, really nice beaches. As you can see, you do not see the reef here. The reef is, 15 miles out or so, 12 miles out. And as you go north, heading toward Rachel and them, the reef kind of goes closer. And as you head south, it kind of moves further away. But Hopkins has different areas. You have the town, which is a Garifuna village, very vibrant, very Belize, and a lot of people love it. The road just got paved. That horizontal road was done not by the government, but by the BTB, the Belize Tourism Board, and a lot of private individuals. Like we contributed for Remax, and I have a small resort there as well. Then you also have, if you can look toward the far left of that picture, you have some rivers as well. Some lagoons, Freshwater Creek is out there, some savannas where you can see the Maya Mountains as well. And then the City River kind of flows to the south. So it's a very cool, unique area, subdivided into, outside of Hopkins Village, you have different area like City River Village, and different phases where there's different types of, houses in different price levels. We have lots there as low as 35,000, and you can go all the way up to 350,000 for a lot. Houses are in the low 100s, but if you want to get on the water, and like in phase 4, I think we have a picture of one of those houses, that would be, in the 7 to over $1 million range. And that is, that's just one of our 17 acres on the river. Just the City River is just one of my favorite rivers. I have a couple acres there. I think Rachel just bought some property on the river. It's just very, very unique. It's very navigable up to a certain extent, but then there's some power lines heading across the river that you couldn't bring a sailboat over, but you could definitely, bring a decent sized boat in. And then the next slide is Placencia. This is where I've spent majority of my time. Man, I can't say enough about Placencia. It's where my heart is, kind of like how Carlo said, he's kind of biased. I'm really biased to Placencia. I've spent majority of my time there. Still spend probably 40% of my time here, and then, quite a bit on some projects in Ambergris Caye. But Placencia is so unique because it's a peninsula. As you can see, we have the ocean on the right, looking at the picture, and then you have the Placencia Lagoon, which is a 17-mile lagoon. The Placencia Road's 24 miles, but the actual lagoon is 17 miles. So really, in the morning, you can wake up and see the sunrise if you're on the ocean, and then you can be on the sunset side. It's a big boating community, a big fishing area as well. People always ask me, where do I need to live? And it's not something that we as agents can tell you if you should live in Cayo or Corozal or wherever. It's really something you need to experience. The experience is just spending time in each area, and you'll get a feel for where you want to be. Placencia is still kind of quirky. It's definitely a little bit more laid back than Ambergris Caye, but it's still, the second tourist destination in the country. And I just can't say enough about it. It's home to, one of the largest main streets in Guinness Book of World Records. It's kind of where the C and the I is, if you will, maybe a little bit to the right. And it's a nice street. It's narrow with a bunch of shops, bunch of restaurants, bars, things like that. We have some nightlife, but really it's just kind of a laid back fishing village that is kind of switching over to tourism. And then the next slide is, this is Umaya. This is a resort that's being managed by the Collective, which is David Hale's project. He owns Rainforest or Sleeping Giant. He owns Jaguar Reef and a few others. And he manages this now. It's, 900,000 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos. And this one is on the ocean for $369. And we actually have the exact same floor plan on the back side, on the lagoon side, that is $199. It just got lowered. And, some of our owners are into crypto, so you can buy with crypto. Some are into financing and will finance as well.
And I did just want to highlight that for a moment there, because I think that it is important to mention that cryptocurrency is accepted, and not in all transactions across Belize. It's definitely not a standard. I know in El Salvador it's a standard in the country, but that was one of my favorite things I think about your listing there, David, is that they do accept crypto. So something for you guys to think about as you're chatting with your clients is how is it that they want to pay for the home? And there you go. You may find that may be the right spot for your client. All right, so I'm not going to bog down on the details here too much of the buying process, but typically when somebody is looking at real estate, and let's say this is a resale home, so it's existing or resale property, they'll typically put in an offer. If the offer is accepted, they'll put 10% down, and that's typically considered the deposit. It takes about 2 to 3 months for documents to get collected, for the deed of conveyance to get completed, and then after that, the owners will receive the deed of conveyance to complete, and then they'll send over the rest of the funds. Now, typically financing is not a standard always. It depends typically on the seller of the property. It's very, very difficult for foreigners to get financing here in country. It's possible, but may not necessarily be as attractive of rates. I guess in the States now they've gone up quite a bit compared to what they were just a few months ago, but rates, especially in this part of the world as a foreigner, aren't typically as attractive as what we thought about before. But once the agreement is fulfilled, once whatever money that the buyer and the seller agreed upon is sent and that deed of conveyance is completed, then the titling process begins. And titling can take time. And I do want to make that very clear. I know in the States and North America, it's kind of like clockwork. It's typically 30, 60 days from the time that the buyer submits everything and that they get that actual physical deed in hand. It takes a little bit more time in Belize, but once everything is submitted, your clients will receive what they call an LRS number. It's essentially like a registration number to show that your documents have been filed with the lands department. And then now one of the benefits of COVID is that they're starting to do a lot more electronically. So you're able to log into the lands website and see where it is in the process of getting that physical deed. But because there is that LRS registration, you're going to get that title, but it just takes a little bit of time. So we're happy to send over this presentation. I don't want to bore you guys with going by each bullet point there, but we can certainly send this over to you if you would like to get a copy of it. We'll go over to the next slide. And then do note that if your client is buying a pre-construction home or a condo with a developer, it may be a little bit different. Typically, developers have their own set of financing. They have their own payment structures, their own payment plans, depending on what they need in order to get started with the project. So just have that conversation with the developer if you're learning about their project, seeing if it's right for your client. And they may end up having an in-house titling coordinator. They may not. I would highly recommend, I would definitely recommend that your client works with a closing agent as they are going through that closing process, just because it is a different process and it's not uncommon for there to be more documents needed than you'll find on the website. So you working with that expert will ensure that they're getting all the documents in and to exactly they need to have it done. And then just like with any pre-construction property anywhere in the world, there's always risks associated, but do know that the reward is usually greater as well, because you are taking a bit of a risk, and that's where you tend to find a lot of those pre-construction prices that are a lot lower than when the building is under construction or actually completed. But I'd say the big takeaway is never pay 100% upfront. Really encourage your clients to do their due diligence. You can help them with that due diligence process, but I would never pay upfront for a pre-construction condo or property. A lot of it is about doing your due diligence there. So a little bit different if you're doing a development or buying into a pre-construction development versus like a resale property. But we can certainly, like I said, send this over to you so you can go into that a little bit more. I'll jump to the next slide there. And I do want to highlight these 5 common either mistakes or misconceptions that I've seen from my perspective of being in the industry here for the last 10 years from foreigners. And due diligence is so incredible in this part of the world. And because we're not licensed real estate agents, there are no licensed real estate agents in this country because licensing doesn't exist. And so that's something that part of BNAR we're working on. We want to have that licensure in place. We want people to be professionals in the industry because at this point, your client can walk up to somebody in the beach bars or having margaritas or Bellicans, and then they can tell your client about this really incredible property that their cousin is selling, and they got to take them over. It fits exactly what they want to see, but that property may not actually be titled to the person who's selling it. And so you do need to do a little bit more due diligence. And so there are a couple of tips that I have for you there, due diligence questions that you can help with your clients. And one of them is if it's new construction and a pre-construction or development, you can ask if the builder is reputable. Have they successfully completed any other projects? And have they been on the island, or have they been in the country for a while? And do they need your money or your client's money in order to get the building completed? Now, that's really important to understand. Some developers come in with enough money to complete the project on their own, and they don't care if you buy or not because they're going to get the building up. Others are dependent on the money from pre-sales, and so that can delay the process a little bit more. But having that understanding, I think, is just key. And you can use these questions for anywhere in the world, not just here in Belize. And then in Belize too, if they're looking at a resale property, understand why it is the client is building. I know in Cayo, where I purchased some river land, the area tends to flood. And I know that because I've been in the country for a while. And so when I was looking at the land, I said, well, I just need to build elevated. And I can tell you 100%, my realtor did not even mention anything about the flooding. And so it's important that you are understanding that, because we found out that there was a home that was built there. It wasn't built on stilts or not elevated. And the river ended up flooding and taking the home away. And so we found that out afterwards, but luckily we knew that sort of information, but that's why they were selling the property. Also, if you are buying a resale, you can get inspections in the country. I know I've encountered some buyers like, oh, we didn't even know you can get inspections here. Yes, you certainly can, and I would highly recommend it. In addition, does the home have features that are essential to you or to your client? And I'm going to mention here that AC, hot water are not typical in a lot of the local builds. So I have people all the time that I'm meeting that say, oh, we want to live where the locals live. We want to be integrated into the community. We want this or this, but they don't think that AC is not going to be included in the construction or that there's going to be hot water. So these are the sort of questions that you need to ask and then also understand and connect it to the grid. And I know Lincoln mentioned it earlier with that property that they're selling in Corozal. It has the electric hookup there. It has the public water, where you're finding land sometimes that, like Carlo is saying, is in an obscure location. It may not have that roadway. It may not have those public utilities. And so you have to understand that. Your client has to understand that before they are buying or putting an offer on a property. We'll jump to the next slide there. Sorry, I know we're running out of time a little bit, so I may talk a little bit quicker here. I want to make sure we get all of this to you. The next one here, and I mentioned this before, is that foreigners don't really realize it can be very difficult to get financing as a foreigner here with a bank. I can tell you your bank in your home country is not going to give you a mortgage on a property that's outside of their jurisdiction. So if you're in Texas and your client goes to their bank in Texas is not going to give them a mortgage for their property here in Belize. But what they may do is a HELOC or a line of credit in order to get those extra funds in order to purchase the property, but they're not going to give you a mortgage on it necessarily. There's sometimes sellers are willing to finance. Typically, I've seen rates be anywhere between 7 to 10%, and there's typically a balloon. A balloon ranges anywhere from 3 to 10 years. So it's not that traditional 30-year amortization that we're necessarily used to in the States. And then I can mention before, sometimes developers have their own financing as well. But I know a lot of times people come down here and they'll look at the price tag of $100,000 and think, because this is what we've been trained, is that I need to put 20% down, $20,000. Yep, I can do it. But then they find out that nope, that's not quite how it works. The seller doesn't want to finance and they need $100,000 in order to move forward. So just understanding that initially will help down the line and set expectations properly. Jump to the next slide. And I mentioned this is that real estate agents aren't licensed. So that's why working with agents that are part of BNAR are going to be essential for you and your clients as they are going through the purchasing process here in Belize. We'll jump to the next slide. And the other one is titling take time. Go back one more. Yeah, the titling can take time, number 4. And this is one of the best pieces of advice that was given to me is pack your patience. So do note that you're in great hands with all of us here. We've gone through the NAR code of conduct training. And so we're very, very familiar with what is being taught in the United States and through NAR. So your clients are in good hands, pack your patience, but you're working with a titling agent. So everything will work out, but just takes a little bit of time. And then that last piece of advice that I have is that foreign buyers don't always understand the closing cost fees. Now, stamp tax is essentially a title transfer fee. It's 8% for foreigners. It's 5% for locals, but we're going to talk more generally here about foreigners who are coming in. So in addition to that listing price that you saw, add 8% to that. And then I typically say add 2 to 3% for those lawyer fees or for that closing agent fees. So you do want to have about 10, 11, I'd even say 12, 13% extra on top of that listing price. Have that factored into your client's budget or your budget to understand what it's going to cost in order to get that transaction done. All right, and we'll jump to the next slide here. I just want to give you a couple more tips to help your clients set their expectations properly. And again, this can be applicable anywhere in the world, but if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I've gone on a bunch of tours before with developers and like, yep, we can give you 15, 18, 20% return on investment. And I'm actually going to jump down there to the third one is if you're netting 5 to 10% return on investment, that's really good. That's really good here. So if you're hearing that 15, 20, 25% return on investment, it does seem to go more into that it's probably too good to be true. And here there's not really those false advertising rules. So you just got to do your due diligence and really understand the market if you are looking at it from an investment perspective. And I'm going to jump up to that second bullet point there is make sure your client is being realistic with themselves. We understand Belize is a beautiful spot. It captures people's hearts. After I know the first trip, people keep coming back and back and back, and they're looking at real estate and it's a place they want to go to. But, you know, a lot of times I think people can't always separate their emotions between buying emotionally and buying from a business perspective, right? So if your client is looking at it from an investment perspective, you know, that's great if they love the location that their condo is at, but is it going to make money for them, right? Are they trying to come down during peak season, during December, during Easter weeks, when that's when they're getting their best money coming in, or are they going to use it for themselves? So understanding that I think is really quite important. And it's hard to find that perfect balance for people who are looking at it from an investment perspective that want that 5-10% ROI. Typically, they can't be staying in their condo or their home at the time that we're in peak season if they want to truly achieve those numbers. So it's just all about setting expectations, understanding the true intentions of what your client wants to accomplish. If they just wanted a lovely place that they can vacation to or move to, then yes, let emotions take the best of them, get the best of them. If it's from a business perspective, you know, go visit Carlo in Belize City and see what he has there from a commercial perspective. But you really just got to be able to separate those two overall. And then we'll jump to the next slide there and then just reach out to us. I think that's one of the biggest parts of this process is knowing who to go to. We have over 70 real estate members that are part of our organization and are here to help you. And as you can tell, we all work very well together. And like Carlo and David said, you know, we are all very partial to the locations that we're in. We love the locations we're in. That's why we live here. That's why we sell properties here. So we can certainly tell you, you know, everything that that you and your clients need to know about each of the places. Or just give you that overview, you know, a little bit more if you want to know about that. We'll have the breakout. And then the complementary resources. One thing I do want to mention is we do not have a central MLS at this point. We as BNAR are putting one together. So that's one thing I know that's very difficult for foreigners when they're coming down. You're so used to going to Zillow or Realtor.com and typing in the credentials that you want, 3-bedroom property, 200,000 to 500,000 in the Phoenix, Arizona area. We don't have that. So right now it's a lot of us, all of our agents reaching out to each other and saying, hey, I have a client who's looking for this. Do you have something that can meet what they're looking for? Going to the websites and seeing what they have listed. So it is a little bit tricky right now, but we are working on conquering that. And like I mentioned, we work very closely with the real estate, the lands department to get the real estate bill passed. And we're just here to be resources for buyers, for other agents, and then of course for our own agents in country. Hop to the next slide there. And this is where I'm going to take a quick break from talking and allow you, Ed, if there's anything else that you want to add about the relationship. I know the next slide is about the trade mission. Feel free to hop in there. We still have you here, Ed? Oh, we might have. Oh, yeah, he's still there. Ed, I don't know. You're on mute. I don't know if you can hear me. No, it looks like you're still muted.
Yeah, I would just add, for anybody that would like some information from HAR, just reach out to Lori. Her email's there. She is the staff member at HAR, and she will connect you anytime with somebody on our global committee. So if you want to jump to our trade mission flyer, trade missions, this is something that I've done in Belize a couple of times. And one of our global committee members is actually doing a trade mission here in a couple of weeks in Ambergris. So Jane's email is on the flyer there. I will tell you, Jane is the biggest fan of Belize on our committee, absolutely, for sure. She loves Belize. And if you look at the picture to the right, that's an all-white party that we had. That Itzana hosted for us a few years back when we were there. We had an absolute blast as we went from Ambergris during the Lobster Fest and jumped on a plane and headed down to Placencia. And Macarena met us on Ambergris down there. She showed us around and we had an absolute blast. And, if you want to start building relationships with realtors from Texas, this is your opportunity to reach out to Jane and go meet them while they're on Ambergris. They're just going to stay on Ambergris, but I know Jane would love to meet you. Jane would love to meet. She's got, I think, 25 realtors coming down for this trip. So it's a really cool opportunity for you to go meet them because, man, Texans love Belize. We have a ton of direct flights, to Belize City, and I will be there more often. And just as soon as the golf course is complete, I put that in a question because I'm waiting for the golf course to be done in Placencia. / I know there's an international airport possibly going that way too. But reach out to her if I can help you with any questions about real estate in Texas. Please reach out to me. I added the har.com website. Any one of y'all can get on that website and search for properties in Texas. It's an unbelievable website. Most of y'all have heard of Zillow, I'm sure, which is another cool website, but HAR actually dominates in the state of Texas when it comes to searches. So feel free to jump on that. All kinds of cool information that you might want to read about. So again, thank you, Rachel, today for the invite. Thank you, Carla. Good to see you, Macarena. And man, I look forward to coming down soon.
One question for you, Ed, before you mute yourself. Is the Belize trade mission that you have here is only for Texas agents, or is it for any real estate agent out there?
Yeah, she's, I think, probably got a couple of realtors outside of Texas that have joined her. She's, advertised it just like, the ones that we have when we do these trade missions. We invite everybody. And trade missions have gotten really, really big in the United States, and realtors and associations from around the US often call me because they know I've done some trade missions and now everybody seems to be doing them. So, get involved with NAR, I would encourage all of y'all to do that, because a lot of people don't know where Belize is, unfortunately.
Yep.
So you got to raise your hand and tell everybody about it. And I would encourage all of y'all, because y'all are, located in a piece of heaven, is to do a lot of video, and put it on YouTube, because man, I love seeing videos and pictures. And there's a few of your realtor friends there in Belize that post often. And if you look at me on Facebook, I'm sharing beach of the day, and I'm taking y'all's pictures and sharing, and people ask, hey, where is this? I got to go see it. And so share that stuff, because that's going to help you get clients, and that's going to help you build interest in real estate in Belize, is to share that. Okay. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. And that is exactly right. And we have tons of resources if anybody wants more for yourself personally or to share with your clients. And I know you're coming down during a great time. Lobster is going to be back in season at the time you're here in Belize. So for those of you who enjoy good lobster, come on down. And I guess that's a great reason to join the trade mission too, but lots of other great reasons, as Ed mentioned there. So awesome. Thank you so much, Ed, for the great insight. And if anybody wants more information about the trade mission, please do reach out to Jane. And we'll just hop to the next slide there. I know we're pretty much at.
Marina had her hand raised.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I was just going to mention, I saw Jada had asked, the best way to search for properties. And I know that, Rachel, you spoke about it, how we're working on the MLS. We're very diligent. We have been for many, many years, right, Carlo? Forever working on getting this to actually happen. And so something very important to remember is that you certainly, if you have a client and you're in Texas or you're somewhere else in the United States, find someone to work with that is a vetted BNAR member to refer to. Don't think you can just come in and represent your client, because we don't have licensing. One, you don't have a work permit, so that would be illegal. Two, you don't know the market, right? So you would never want to do your client wrong. And we've seen this happen before, and we've seen major issues. So really important to find chosen people to work with, like Ed had spoke about, that you can trust. And I can't stress that enough, because we've seen so many things happen. It's no different than, I'm a licensed Florida realtor, but I can't go to Texas and sell. And nor would I. I would never. I would refer to Ed and say, Ed, please take care of my couple. They need to buy, but I want representation for anybody I'm referring. I'm sure you all do the same thing too. So have patience with us. We're working on the MLS, find some vetted partners to work with in the country in different areas. If you want to search for listings, not all sites are equal. Many listings are very old, literally old, decades old, and not proper information. So just make sure you're working with vetted people. Go to you.
Yep, and that's exactly right, Macarena. Thank you so much for that input. All right, so I know we're after the time here, but I do want to just quickly mention here on this slide is the used to be email address there if you'd like to get in touch with us, or WhatsApp. I don't know if you guys are familiar with WhatsApp. In Belize, we use it all the time. It's a texting app that you can use to text any number, no extra fees. It doesn't matter if they have iMessage or Android or whatnot, but do reach out to us there. And then if you've heard anybody on the presentation today that you'd like to get connected with, feel free to reach out, and we can certainly get you their information as well. Now, I know I said we'd go an hour, and we are certainly after the hour, and I apologize about that. But, I'm wondering here, Carlo and team, if you want to just open the floor to general questions, and then if somebody has questions, maybe we don't necessarily have to do the breakout, because I don't see tons of questions coming in. But if we just want to have general, then we can open the floor for the next 5 minutes or so. And then from there, we can get those answered for you. And then you guys can reach out to us personally if you'd like to hear more about the specific market. Does that work for you, Carlo and Bree?
Yeah, I think I
Okay,
would.
perfect.
Bree, I think you got the session's set now, Bree, but I think we can do it in here.
Yeah, the rooms are open, but I guess since we have an open communication here, I think we could just have everyone just discuss on the floor, and it should work fine as well.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to just read the questions, and then anybody in our team, feel free to jump in and answer if you would like. All right, so how available are solar installs in some of the off-grid areas? I can tell you from Ambergris too. Well, let me just do generally, and if you guys from any of the other real estate agents here on the line and Belize, feel free to jump in too. There's just generally a supply chain shortage all across the world. But I know that has taken a little bit more time for the folks I know who are installing solar to get theirs. But on Ambergris Key, you're able to find it. I can't give you the exact names of what kind of solar they're getting, but it is becoming more popular for electricity savings costs, of course. And then also just because people want to be a little bit more green. I don't know, Carlo, if you've seen anything else there.
Yeah, I think, well, there were two major companies. I think both of them were in Cayo. I think Macarena may be familiar, but I know, for instance, like Pro Solar, and they use Tesla, which I think most people would trust. But Macan, if you have another suggestion.
You're exactly right. Both companies in Cayo are doing very well. Some are actually making their own boards right now because, as Rachel spoke about shortage, we always become very ingenuitive, right? But it's very accessible. Might have to wait a little bit.
Exactly. All right. I'm going to pull up the next question here. All right. Nora is saying, what are your views on real estate in the Punta Gorda, Toledo area? I don't know if David, if you're still on, if you want to answer that one, that's definitely closer to the area you're in.
Yeah, it's an area I really like. It's really hilly, mountainous. I'm working on a 515-acre chocolate farm right now to put in my portfolio, but I go down there at least 4 or 5 times a year. It's not a huge tourist market, but it does kind of compare a little bit to Cayo because it's kind of inland a little bit, but it is on the ocean. But it's not a beach community. It's more rocky, but you do have a lot of the hills where you can actually live in the hills. There's quite a bit of farming there and things like that. So it's prices are definitely more affordable there, but it's not a huge tourist market. So if you're wanting to do something touristy, you have to build that reputation up, just like the ones that are there now have.
Exactly. I would agree with that. I've only been to Punta Gorda a couple times actually, but from what I've seen is I would agree with that. All right, I'm seeing here from, Rebecca has to run. She has to go for the next one. What I would also appreciate, guys, is feel free to reach out to us, that email address on the screen, what you liked from the session, what you would like to hear more of. Maybe we can even do specific webinars per region or per area. If you'd like to see that, just let us know. Send us your feedback. It's, I think, our first virtual trade mission. So we're just trying to get a lot of information in. There's a ton more to learn, but hopefully it did pique your interest there. I see Lincoln is asking about the real estate bill. Lincoln, we will certainly fill you in on that on one of our BNAR meetings. And then Tanya saying, thank you for the overview. It piqued your interest. I think you guys can all see the chat here, so sorry for reading that out loud. But her and her husband are interested in adding to the portfolio. Awesome. I'm glad to see that. And what I've also tend to find is from working with the real estate agents is that they may start looking on behalf of their clients and interacting with us, and then they end up falling in love with Belize and getting property down here too. So who knows, maybe you do need to come down in July, see if it's a place that you're interested in, but at least get the chance to meet us and go from there. And I'm not seeing any other questions or anything come in. And so with that, Carlo, David, Lincoln, Macarena, Bree, anything else you guys would like to add before we hop off here?
Yeah, actually, I just want to quickly address Lincoln, and I think probably people in here would be happy to hear as well. So the real estate bill, that saga is ongoing, but we very, very recently, and actually we put out a quick industry advisory, I think it was last week, I think it was like Friday, that we had a very productive meeting with the Office of the Prime Minister, the Private Public Desk, and the Economic Development Council. So we're actually currently, I think we can say this, but I think we're all on the same page. Lance is a new CEO as well. She's definitely behind it. We have a lot of political will, and both associations actually are cooperating on getting the feedback in. We're trying to actually get a state-of-the-art bill drafted at the moment. And so we're actually already in some discussions about expertise and funding through some partners. I don't want to reveal yet, but the Prime Minister's office is aware of it, and they are backing us so we can get this real true expertise to give us a bill that's hopefully cutting edge. That's the idea. And I think we're setting a very ambitious, like 6-month period to get it done. And we have a follow-up with them within a week, actually, too. So we should know more by then, but I've already set a very ambitious 6-month goal, and it seems that most people are on board. So once we can get the consultations going well with our memberships, which I believe that we can, that shouldn't be a problem. We should be moving along quite well, I would say.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that for everyone. All right, folks. I just realized my video is off. Sorry about that. Well, all right. Well, thank you. David, any last words from you, or Lincoln, anything from you?
I just want to say thanks you all for, joining, and any questions, just reach out to that email address and they'll get it to the right person.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Thank you, everybody. Rachel, thank you, Carlo. Thank you, everybody, for your kind participation. It was very insightful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Thanks,
Au revoir.
Lincoln.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thank you.